indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Whitman.
Here.
Alderman Detweiler.
Here.
Alderman Gettemeyer.
Here.
Alderman Johnson.
Here.
Alderman Nay.
Here.
Alderman Waters.
Here.
Alderman Wilson.
Present.
The quorum is present.
All right, thanks. So first order of business tonight is a presentation from First Capital Advisors. Mr. Tom Dempsey, would you mind?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Aldermen. Thank you for inviting us this evening. Tom Dempsey, First Capital Advisors. I have with me Dave Berry. I tell people he puts the S in First Capital Advisors. So we're a two-person firm. He helps me cover the capital and do our reporting for our clients. I have a presentation. I see it got inputted. Thank you very much. So it was a busy year, 2026. We can go to the second slide. There we go. See that the legislature, just by volume and bills passed, they had a more successful year. More productive, I should say. They filed over 2,000 bills. About 216 of those were related to municipalities. And you can see 100 of those bills made it through the process and are currently waiting to be, some of them have been acted on, but most of them have not, to be either signed or vetoed by the governor. And 17 of those bills are budget bills. So it was a more productive year, I said, but in terms of substance, last year's fights on redistricting, IP reform, pro-life legislation, of course, the stadium bill, which had property tax legislation in it as well, really sapped the Senate's will to do some of the tougher jobs this year. So they started slow and finished slow. Next slide, please. But they were able to move many policies, and then there were some related to municipalities, which were controversial, would pass the House, but weren't fell on the difficulty of the Senate this year. And so let's get into a few of those. On property taxes, the House had an interim committee on property tax reform. They could not coalesce around one idea. They passed 6 different bills doing various things to reduce property taxes or curb increases to property taxes. But all of those efforts failed. Of course, this is a trend. You had the senior property tax freeze, which they did a few years ago. They cleaned up 2 years ago. And then in the stadium bill, the property tax legislation that was voted down in April here in St. Charles County, but was successful in some other places. So they'll continue to have property tax reform as a priority. But that legislation, as I said, died this year. If we go to the next, this was a big subject. The House passed legislation related to that would allow non-regulated utilities to be reimbursed when they have work to do, when cities are making improvements, cities, counties, and MoDOT are making improvements to our roads when they're in right of way. So obviously would have had a negative impact on municipal, county, and state budgets. That legislation passed the House. It was stripped down on the Senate side to be MoDOT only. So certainly if you weighed in with your local lawmakers, they heard that message. But $25 million a year out of the Department of Transportation's budget would have been very difficult and would have also affect important projects here in St. Charles County, like Route N. So I was happy to see that legislation did not pass. It's not before the governor right now because it would have been harmful to transportation budgets and certainly MoDOT's budget. On the next, we have annexation legislation. Several lawmakers in St. Charles County supported curbs to annexation law. Richard West was one of the primary sponsors, but there were others also supporting that. A bill did not pass the House, but on the Senate side, there was a smaller bill. And this House Bill 2818 was a little bill that related to an airport in Northwest Missouri. And Senators Schnelting and Schroer added language to restrict annexation in St. Charles County in that bill. And then that ultimately did pass. So that is a bill related to St. Charles County. You can see kind of how it would curb annexation in St. Charles County, and that is on the governor's desk, and he'll have until July 15th to sign or veto that legislation. Go to the next, to St. Charles County elections. So this isn't a Garden Prairie specific bill, but it is a bill. So every year, you'll see bills filed that will change the election date for local government and school board elections from the April election to the November election. I think the argument is that there's a larger turnout. I've seen those bills for the past 25 years. This year, they were successful. The St. Charles County delegation was successful in having a bill that will be St. Charles County only, and it will apply to school board candidates in St. Charles County. So their elections, they will move to a November election. It will not be a partisan election, but they can declare their party as part of that. So that's going to be interesting to watch. And I thought I would mention it since I see these bills filed every year, and this one actually it passed by one vote to do St. Charles County only. Property development, there are several bills filed every year related to changing zoning requirements. And this year was no different. The House passed, again, House Bill 2384. If you go down to that third bullet point, municipalities in the legislation must approve or deny a construction request within 30 calendar days. If no response is given in that 30 days, then the request is automatically deemed approved. So the city would have 30 days to approve a permit, and if they did not act on it, it would be deemed approved. So there were some other provisions of the bill related to prohibiting municipalities from acting on energy efficiency ordinances. There was a provision that the fire marshals had a problem with, which would allow any multi-story building under 6 stories to have one stairwell. That they thought that had serious safety concerns. Anyway, that bill ultimately died in the Senate at the end of session. Go to the next, sales tax on food. So we're seeing bills that will cut property taxes, bills I'll get into that related to cutting the state income tax. We've got last year, the legislature eliminated the tax on capital gains. This is another bill that's filed every year, which would cut the sales tax on groceries. This would have applied to state sales tax only, so it wouldn't have affected local governments, but this was adopted by amendment on the floor of the Senate, and the bill was perfected, but that bill ended up died in rules. So, one of those circumstances where, especially on the Senate side, because on the House side, they have to draft their amendments and distribute them prior to a bill being taken up. So you'll have advance notice. But on the Senate side, it's very freewheeling, and a senator can get up and offer an amendment that hasn't been distributed. And so you've got to be paying attention. I think this is one of those examples where you've got to know what's going on when the Senate is in session. But it did die, as I mentioned, in the Senate Fiscal Oversight Committee. We'll go to Amendment 5, the income tax. Okay. So this will be on the ballot in August. It's the sales income tax to sales tax swap, basically a resolution which will be voted on. It's enabling legislation that would authorize the legislature to come up in a period of, they have 5 years upon passage to develop a proposal that would eliminate Missouri's income tax and through a broadening of the sales tax base. So services that are currently not collecting sales tax, or where sales tax is not being collected, allowing those to collect sales tax. That would be a part of it, and potentially, I don't think I've seen more than 1 or 2% sales tax increase. But that's all for the legislature to discuss if Amendment 5 passes. As it relates to cities, one of the last provisions to be worked out was if you broaden the base of sales tax for communities that authorize sales tax, they would receive a windfall. So the legislature had to come at this like, well, how are we going to deal with this problem? Because we're not doing this to increase sales tax or increase sales tax revenues. We're doing it as a tax swap. So what they ended up working out at the 11th hour was what will happen is upon an agreement where the sales tax base is broadened, the local political subdivision would receive 100% of that windfall the first year. Get to keep 100% of that broadened base of revenue. And then in the second year, you'd have to take that number of the increment increase from those new tax revenues. You'd have to either, if you have an earnings tax, which I know Darden Prairie does not, you'd have to roll that back, or you could roll your sales tax back, or you could cut property taxes equal to 97% of the revenue that new revenue that you brought in. So the city would get, it's a one-time adjustment. The city would get to keep the additional 3%. And then, as sales grow in the community, as inflation, continues to grow at whatever percent, there's no other rollback that's required beyond that one rollback. And so from a city's perspective, I thought that was important to bring out as we continue to get educated for August on whether to support or oppose this legislation. But that's how it would affect Darden Prairie and other political subdivisions. And then I thought I would hit the Drive Committee update. I am not the chair. I am a member of the committee, and but I know it's a top priority for the mayor and getting more connectivity into the town center, making that a priority. I was at a meeting in March. Amanda Brower, who is the director of roads and traffic for the county, was present there. I thought it was a very good discussion. And she was going to go back after that meeting and look at some, I guess, history of what she had previously discussed with the county and the city, and also look at other possibilities. And I did see some email traffic in April between her and the city's engineer, and it looks like there are some good options to be considered. And I'm looking forward to the next Drive Committee meeting to see what we can do to move forward on that. So that's in a nutshell the things that I believe are most pertinent in sharing with you. But we're happy to answer any questions, and if there's other subjects you'd like to talk about, we sure do our best to answer those questions.
Thanks, Tom. I want to first thank you as well. I know that throughout this, the last 4 months through the session, that several items were raised by board members, as well as several board members here. And they were brought up, and I know that we had discussions, and we know that you represented those for our city. So thank you for doing that. I know that a couple of them were addressed here tonight as well, and they didn't pass, and we didn't want them to. So thank you for that. But I appreciate all, representing our city and all the work and the communication, the good communication back and forth. I know that the board's also been receiving the report that you send out every week, I believe. So we've been consuming that for the last 4 months as well. And I just want to, say thank you, and then direct it over to any other board members who have any questions related to this.
I do have the one slide I guess I've left out. Just touch on with term limits.
Yep.
You're always building new relationships. There's going to be new members of leadership in the House and the Senate. Big turnover in leadership. And then a third of the House, a third of the Senate seats will be new. So, part of our job is building relationships, and with the term limits, that's ongoing. Sorry, happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. Any board members have any questions, comments, or input for Mr. Dempsey? Heard? Okay. Well, thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it. And we'll look forward to continued engagement through the rest of the year. And thanks for all you've done. And
Thank you very much. We appreciate working for the city.
All right, thanks. Okay, on to the next item is the consent agenda. With this consent agenda, there is one item that was brought to my attention with the, it's from the Macadoodle, so it's item number 5. There should be a tasting license that is also included within item number 5. So what I would like to do is, as we move forward to with the consent agenda, as long as there is no concern about adding that on there, it should have been, it was an oversight. It should have been in there. They paid for the license. They've had it every year before. They applied for it. It's there. It's just simply a bit of a clerical error here. So we would go to move to, pass, I would ask a motion to pass the consent agenda with amending number 5 to include a tasting license on there. So, or is there any objections to that? None heard? Okay. So can I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda for tonight with the said amendment that I just did?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ryan, second by Laura. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard. Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the shortest meeting we've had in a very long time. So with that, we will burn through to officer and staff communications. City Attorney.
We have a speaker card.
Speaker card. Yeah, okay.
Caleb?
Public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry you're here.
Yeah,
All right, go ahead, sir.
well, I was here actually for the long agenda, but
What's your name, sir?
I'm Caleb Schneider. I'm with Grace Hauling. Just up here to just thank you guys for your guys' business and our well relationship. But just make sure there's nothing else we could do for you guys, and that doing everything right.
I would just like to say that they have got superior customer service. I've never had an issue with them when I've needed to call. And today, actually, the guy stopped the truck and lets me throw in some extra yard waste instead of driving on by. So that's the kind of service that I think the city deserves, and they do a superior job.
Thank you. And the guy that would have grabbed your yard waste today, he actually was sweating a lot. The AC quit in his truck. So we had to figure that out once he got back.
Thanks, Caleb. Thank you, guys. Okay. All right. Didn't see anybody I recognized in the audience, so that makes sense. So thanks, Caleb. All right. All right. Now we'll move on to officer and staff communication. City Attorney. Engineer is City Administrator.
Discussion. Mike over here. So just an update from when I last was here with all of you and meeting with you individually. We are making some good inroads with all of our various groups. I've met with both chambers that we work with, the Economic Development Council we work with. I had lunch today with the police department command staff, just to talk about operations here in Darden Prairie and our relationship with them. So I was excited to get some time on their schedule today. Had a great time at the St. Charles County Municipal League baseball game last night. I'm going to steal that thunder from all of you that are going to mention it. Great time. Thanks for the invite. Enjoyed being out there. Thanks to Mark and Ryan. I believe they're both on the board and helped put that event together. It was a good time. Great little asset in that stadium being right there and having that team there. I talked about all this with you in our one-on-ones. We are working on reviewing our mid-year budget, and we'll be bringing forward budget amendments in July sometime as we look at the budget and see where we're at and see where we need to make adjustments to address some of the projects that have popped up or some of the projects that we're still working on or haven't started. So more to follow there. I do want to thank the staff for all the efforts they're putting in on both 4th of July and then the 25th anniversary. I'm not going to speak to that too much because I assume the mayor's going to speak to one or both of those events, but just the staff has been working very hard on those events. So I'm thankful for that. Thanks for those of you that have provided me with feedback on the website. If you have any more feedback, please do get it in. We are going to work on wrapping up, incorporating those comments so that we can continue to push forward with a public release of the new website over the next couple of weeks here. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Alderman?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. One of the things I think would be very helpful would be on the website to update our fireworks policies so residents know when it's permissible to light fireworks. It's a little bit confusing because the stands usually don't necessarily coincide with those exact dates. So I think that would be helpful. And the other thing I wanted to mention, because when I got back, when we had our vote for the residential to commercial rezoning for the property on Post Road, when I got back home, I received, and I think other aldermen too, received pictures from a resident showing large equipment on that property. You know, when we were discussing it and it was voted to rezone 4-2, we were told that there was no equipment on the property. And apparently that was incorrect information. And it wasn't clear how planning and zoning voted, and planning and zoning had voted 6-0 to not rezone. So I think for those aldermen that cast yes votes, they made that vote with not having accurate information. And I think that is something, especially the planning and zoning feedback, that's critical. They're vetting the property, they're vetting the whatever's up for rezoning or for discussion. And it is important that that information gets shared with the Board of Aldermen.
Thanks, Laura. Carla?
Yeah, I will put that onus on me as the rep from planning and zoning. I thought that information had already been passed on at the other Board of Aldermen meeting, but I should never take anything for granted. And I had mentioned to Kyle that we need to come up with more information that comes to the board because of planning and zoning meetings and things like that. And just so the board knows, planning and zoning is also videoed. So, you know, just like if a resident wants to see what happens at this meeting, I think it would be a good thing for the board members to go on YouTube and look at the planning and zoning meetings and hear what's said by residents and hear what's said by the commissioners, because a lot of times, and in this last instance, there was no one here other than the one resident, and they thought all of that had already been discussed. So again, I take the onus on myself for not telling you that the P&Z voted it down 6-0. But I also think each alderman should take the responsibility of knowing more about what planning and zoning did and said, and more about the bills before we get to this meeting, and then they just place a vote, because that vote was definitely a wrong vote. It is not on the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan goes at Post Road down to downtown Square Boulevard. It does not run all the way down Post Road. So that information was incorrect also. And, you know, now we have a residential area that is now commercial, not going to bring any tax into the city. And apparently it's going to be another one of these things where we have to constantly be sending code enforcement out to make sure that they follow the rules. So I would appreciate it if each board member would take the time and research this stuff before they come and vote. And you can bet I will let you know the next meeting what goes on at planning and zoning. And I apologize for not doing that at this last one.
All right, thank you.
Yes, I'd just like to thank everyone that came out to the Hoots game last night. It was perfect weather. It was a lot of fun. And we'll probably be doing it again next year. Hopefully more people can attend. We had a lower turnout this time. I think the soccer had a big part to play in it and people watching the soccer game. Another thing I've been getting a lot of calls on once again here lately is, where are we with the produce stand?
With the who?
Produce stand.
Produce stand?
It's for sale.
Up for sale.
Well, I know, but somebody bought it, I believe, last time we talked.
I defer to the city attorney and city administrator on that. Not any updates lately.
We'll get you a report on it. I don't know the particulars off the top of my head. Actually just met John face to face for the first time today. So that's on our list to discuss and get to the bottom of and get you guys a report on.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Blake?
I have some comments that I just wanted to say, kind of like last meeting.
Okay.
So last night I was listening to I was trying to find a nice station to watch and flipping through the channels, and I stopped on C-SPAN. And a United States Senator was speaking on on the floor of the Senate. You know, those times when there's not a person around and they can speak. And he said something there that struck me. He talked about that every person, every citizen needs to defend our democracy. And I tried to reconcile what the hell that meant. Because I don't know what he meant by that. Defend our democracy? And I thought, well, maybe he doesn't understand what form of government we do have. Because we don't have a democracy. Everybody remember that from school? We have a republic. It's in our Pledge of Allegiance. But the democracy we do have is we have a democratic republic, which means that we have representatives who represent the people who are voted in, and the way we govern is democratic. We use a democracy. And a democracy in that simply means that the majority rules. 50% of the vote plus one. And so if I could just take just a moment to retrace some of the things that happened, we're going to be hearing a lot about this, I do believe, this defending democracy. And I thought it might be helpful to everyone if we understood exactly what that means. So I left off last time. For those of you who weren't here last time, I talked about how the Declaration of Independence came to be and what it took place. The Declaration of Independence was also a declaration of war, and it started the Revolutionary War. It took a long time to get that into place. The Brits were a little slow in realizing what we had done, but they eventually did. It was a 5-year war. It ended at Yorktown on October 19th, 1781. There was a 3-week siege of Yorktown. General Cornwallis surrendered to General George Washington. 2 years later, the Treaty of Paris, which was the absolute end of the war, was signed. And in 1781, we began to craft the Articles of Confederation. And those articles were our government. They were the basis of our government for 8 years, from 1781 to 1789, when the new Constitution was ratified. The new Constitution came about because of the Constitutional Convention. We had conventions a lot there. And the reason we did, and it's interesting to note that all of these conventions, those that led up to the Declaration of Independence, those that led up to these rules for the Articles of Confederation, and then consequently the Constitution itself, were all done in a period from May until September of every year, the hottest time of the year to be in Philadelphia. And that's where they all were. And the reason is all the members that came into that convention were actually farmers, landowners. And so they did it in the time period which was the least intruding on them. They had to plant in the spring, they had to harvest in the fall. So their time to do that was right there, smack dab in the middle of summer, when the crops were just growing. And so that's what happened. The Constitution was based on the ancient Greeks. They had formed they had tried self-government. The Greeks tried a method that would only include the people of influence in Greece, which was an interesting concept. That's why it failed. It didn't include everybody. So our founding fathers decided to use something they had tried, which was called a republic. The republic stands for it represents the public, hence republic. So that's what it does. And they toyed with the idea of having democracy incorporated with it. Well, a democracy itself says that we have a vote, and the majority of the vote is what we do. And at one point, they decided that we might try a direct democracy. Well, direct democracy means everybody, every time there was a decision to be made, everybody voted. Well, you can see how that wouldn't work for a nation. Works for a very small group, but not for a nation. So they decided on something else called a democratic republic. And that's what we have, is a democratic republic. You can always remember this, because in 1962, Congo was given their freedom by the Netherlands, and they created their own nation. And they decided to copy the United States of America. And so they named their country. Does everybody know the name of their country? Easy to remember once you hear it. Anybody know?
Democratic Republic of Congo.
That's it, the Democratic Republic of Congo. They put it right into their name of their country, which is really cool. So they never can say they don't know what their government is. So that's what they did. It's a form of government that we are actually on the front lines of, right here. We vote that way with a majority of the aldermen who represent the people in our community. And so we are here on the front line. We see it in the county, we see it in the state, and we see it on the federal level. And so these are the things that affect us, affect the people, and I just want people to understand, know what they're doing, know what they're saying. So in the coming days, we've got 2 weeks to this 250th birthday, we'll hear this defending our democracy or whatever they want to say. Think about it carefully, what they're trying to say, because I really don't know. Our democracy in this country is working just fine. There's never been a challenge to it. There's never been anybody that's come close. So I just wanted to say that. I did want to tell all of you, just on a personal note, this last week has been a very hard week for me and my family. My wife was diagnosed with ALS. Everybody know what that is? Lou Gehrig's disease. So we're going to go through some tough times here the next few years. So just, I will continue to do what I can for the city. And I'll do everything I can to support my wife. So we have a good family. They'll rally around. They'll be a strength to all of us. So with that, I wish everybody the best 4th of July. And thanks.
Thank you, Blake. I truly am sorry to hear that about your wife, and we'll keep her in our prayers as well as your family. And I do want to say thank you for sharing the insights on the history of our country as we approach this 250th anniversary of our country. It's a momentous milestone for our country, and I'm really excited. All the great work that we've done as a board here and continue to do and stand on the front lines of democracy. I've stood on the front lines of democracy in other capacities as of you, but I'm proud to continue to do it behind this dais rather than downrange. But that being said, the first thing I'd like to talk about is, well, first I'd like to say, again, echo the comment about the Hoots game. I'm sorry I had to miss it last night. My grandparents celebrated their 65th wedding anniversary at a dinner of that. So I naturally chose that over the Hoots game this year. So I'm sorry I missed it, but it was for a good purpose. Hope everybody had a good time. Sounds like everybody did. And then tomorrow is another milestone for our city. It's the 25th anniversary of being incorporated as a Class 4 city in the state of Missouri. So for all those who can't attend, we look forward to seeing you there. And I know the invitations have gone out and should be a good time. We're going to have, I'll be out there. We're going to have a presentation of a plaque, as well as some words from our first mayor, Marilyn Field, as well as an ice cream social following that. So we hope to see everybody out there tomorrow to help bring in this significant milestone for our city. That being said, we have a concert on the 26th. I encourage everybody to come out. Brandy, who's the new person or the new band? Do you remember?
No, the band did not change. It's still
Pink Houses. Yeah. Okay. So Pink Houses.
the new vendor.
Okay. So Pink Houses is going to be out here. And then after that, I want to take a moment because this will be the last time we get a chance to talk about it before the 4th of July. Actually, no, we have a meeting. Yeah, we have a meeting before then. So we have the 4th of July coming up, but I will give credit to the staff. The staff has been working tirelessly for the last 2 months to really get this over the finish line. And the 4th of July, this is our city's first, something that we're doing because it is it's such a significant milestone. And if we're ever to do our first 4th of July, this is certainly the one. We've got a parade in the morning that's really shaping up into a pretty significant parade with a lot of vendors and as well as social community groups from the VFW to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and just the list continues to grow. So I really want to thank Brandy and Nicole as well as Debbie and Kyle for helping put that together. And as well as in the afternoon, we've got a lineup of bands for Liberty Rocks, America's 250. We're going to have bounce houses. We're going to have margarita trucks, food trucks, bourbon tasting. We're going to have a whole array of things in this little park out here to really make this special. So I hope everybody that is able to will come, especially the board members. Would love to see everybody out there. We still need some support in the afternoon as well. So if any board members have the ability to help out in the afternoon hours, we're certainly going to need some extra staff. I plan to be out there and intend to have the grill fired up, and I'll be cooking some burgers again like we did for Prairie Day last year. So if you're a volunteer, you're part of the city staff, we'll certainly be doing that. So that being said, we'll close the comments down for now. And since we do have another meeting before the 4th, but I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Any go backs? Nothing heard. Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to close the meeting or adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Moved by Carla, second by Laura. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.